We want to first turn to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the United States is certainly doing its best to engage in even more imperial plunder. And we are very, very happy to be joined here on the show once again by Kambale Musavuli, who is an analyst with the Center for Research on the Congo-Kinshasa. As always, Kambale, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for keeping the story over and over of the Congo. And history will remember that. I'm pretty sure of it.
Well, certainly it's the least we can do. And I want to start with this so-called peace deal between the DRC and Rwanda, brokered by the United States, much touted by the United States, sort of alongside this. I think it's still maybe not 100% agreed to, but correct me if I'm wrong, there a potential mineral and military deal between the US and DRC, which is also sort of a part of this process. I mean, I guess my first question for you is this, is how durable is this deal from the point of view of peace? Because the State Department text, I mean, it sounds like many of the deals that have already failed, and it seems like it's a little bit more about the United States getting its foot in the door economically in the eastern part of the DRC, but perhaps I'm being too cynical there.
You know, we are commemorating Patrice Lumumba's 100th anniversary. It was just yesterday, pretty much July 2nd. And that deal has to be read from Lumumba's writings, Lumumba's speeches, and so on. And the reason I'm saying this is one of the most famous quotes from Patrice Lumumba, that Africa's history is not going to be written in Washington, it's not going to be written in Paris, Brussels, or the UN. It's going to be written by Africans from north to south, a history of dignity and glory, right? The United States has no capacity, historically, to broker a peace deal. We know that. You know, I want to see where the US actually facilitated peace around the world. We can't even look at what is happening right now. The genocide in Palestine, the wars over in Asia, be it East Asia, not the entire continent of Asia, where the US has been engaged militarily for decades. And on the African continents, the different coups that the US has backed. So it does not have a track record of bringing about peace and stability anywhere around the world. I mean, well, if someone has cancer, do you go see a pediatrician for that? Right? You have to have someone who has the experience. So that's the reality. That's the number one reality of that deal. The second, that deal is rewriting Congo's history. Is presenting the conflict as a conflict between Rwanda and Congo, right? Not really a war of aggression where Congo's territorial integrity is affected, where millions of Congolese have died. There is not even a mention of the death toll in the Congo in that deal. You know, that will have signaled that this is a deal for peace, because we know that peace can only happen if it is tied to justice, right? And justice can only also unfold when people are telling the truth, and the truth has not been told. And lastly, the part of the deal that we do not see is the commercial deal, and they intentionally are keeping it hidden. But luckily, there were leaks before the signing of the diplomatic deal between Rwanda and DRC, where it stipulated that the Congolese government is putting forward $3 trillion worth of Congo's minerals in exchange of the US engagement to broker this peace deal and provide military support and military training. You know, that's according to African intelligence article a couple of months ago. So $3 trillion of mineral wealth is equivalent to about one-tenth of Congo's wealth. You know, Congo's wealth is estimated at $24 trillion, right? And there is no country in the world outside of the United States that has access to about one-tenth of Congo's minerals. And I'm pointing that out because it's important, right? And the reason why it's important is because around 2008, when China had a $9 billion deal, not even a trillion, right? $9 billion deal, we were told China is colonizing the Congo. China is exploiting the Congolese. There was no discussion about China is helping infrastructure that will bring about peace and stability. None of that, right? But the US has hundreds times more access to the minerals, right? The $3 trillion deals. No media has yet said that this peace deal being brokered is a way of the US recognizing the Congo. Not even discuss that, no, this is actually what is happening, $3 trillion wealth, and forgetting that we are where we are today because also of US foreign policy. That the conflict in the Congo, which started in 1996, is a direct result of two of US allies, Rwanda and Uganda, who have invaded the Congo twice in 96 and 98. They continue to support proxy rebel militias, while the United States, European Union are continuously providing them with military equipment to cause the chaos. So we in the Congo, be it in communities around, be it those who are challenging the government, they all are saying the same thing, that this deal does not represent the Congolese people. The way to know that if you represent the Congolese people is if there is a question of justice, and the fact that there is no question of justice in this deal is only to support American corporations who are going to benefit to get access to Congo's minerals needed in the fourth industrial revolution.
I'm curious, Kambale, if you could elaborate on that a bit, because of course, you know, Washington's presenting this deal as some sort of peace triumph. We all know that Trump likes to take credit for making deals, probably thinks he's going to get like the Nobel Peace Prize or something. But as you've said, this has a lot more to do with locking down access to Congo's vast mineral wealth. So could you talk a bit about the way this is actually cover for corporate looting? That, by the way, already takes place, but this would just, I guess, expand that or make it easier.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also very important to connect what's happening in the Congo and what's happening in the US right now. Because people would think that this so-called big blue, what do they call it? Big beautiful
bill.
Right? Has nothing to do with what's happening around the world, right? We know that this bill is going to make billionaires in the United States have access to capital, right? They're giving them money. And we know where they're going to use their money, right? They're going to use it on the African continent to get access to minerals. Don't think that I'm just throwing that as a general statement. Where was Bill Gates in May? Wasn't he in the DRC, right? No, Bill Gates flew into the DRC, signed a deal to get access to a mine in Manono, in the Kolwezi area. And that lithium mine, the deal is for $1 billion, right? Bill Gates, billionaire, flew into the Congo to get a mine, a lithium mine for $1 billion, right? He owns a company called, him and Jeff Bezos, actually, they own a company called Cobalt Metals, right? And Cobalt, their expertise is to use artificial intelligence to find critical minerals, right? So it's all coming back full circle. Then they're going to have a big tax cut for their operations there. So they are moving money from the oppressed in the United States, where you're losing your Medicaid, you're losing so many benefits. That wealth is moving also on the African continent, right? Allowing these billionaires and corporations to buy mines a penny on the dollar, because at the moment, the US is unable to compete in innovation, right? They're not able to produce the best AI models in the world. They can't compete with advanced technology, but what they can compete on is figuring out a way to counter China on the African continent, where they will control the critical minerals, and Congo holds most of the critical minerals on the African continent. It's the number one producer of cobalt. He has one of the largest lithium reserves in the world. And unfortunately, the elites of the Congo, the president of the Congo and his government, have put on a silver platter the access to Congo's minerals, which is in contradiction with the will of the Congolese people.
You know, one of the things that jumped out at me in the State Department release was, was talking about the need to respect, quote unquote, the negotiations between the DRC and M23 in the context of the Doha talks that they're having. And I thought it was interesting when you put it with former President Joseph Kabila sort of reemerging in the East, that in a way, even though it's being presented as sort of like a quote unquote deal between Rwanda and DRC, it seems like that element in and of itself is really that part of the deal, or what the United States would like to see, is a further entrenchment of, Rwandi's power, if you will, into the state of Congo?
I mean, as we're speaking right now, the UN group of experts is due to publish a report. They final report that they amended it to publish, and it's already stated. I mean, the report has been leaked. I'll make sure to send you a copy of it so you could see. It may be published very soon, but it's now in the open. That in that report, even though Rwanda has signed the agreement, right now in the report is saying in plain words that Rwanda's objective in the Congo is to actually annex the eastern part of Congo. And this is something the Congolese have said it. And the reason why Rwanda wants to annex the eastern part of Congo is because it's a land rich of minerals. So no matter where they will go for this, be it in Doha, be it in Nairobi, be it in Luanda, in the end, if we don't hold the perpetrator of violence accountable, mineral wealth will continue to come out of the Congo and millions of deaths will continue. But what's important to remember about this deal, when even you read it, and I'm kind of mentioning it quickly in saying that it's rewriting Congo's history, but there are some basic element also that is helpful in terms of thinking about what's happening. The fact that Rwanda is signing an agreement for peace in the Congo, then we know that the M23 is really a proxy, right? The Congo is not signing a peace agreement with M23 in Washington, D.C. They're signing it with a foreign government. So which means that Rwanda is actually an aggressor country and they are coming into negotiating. That's one level. The second level is the fact that the US is organizing this peace deal. It means that they recognize that since 1996, there has been a conflict that has killed people and something should happen with it. And I'm pointing that out because there is actually a US law that the US should implement, right? A US law, Public Law 109456, that is the Democratic Republic of Congo Relief, Security, Democracy Promotion Act. Mouthful. Written by Barack Obama, signed into law by George Bush, always, never implemented fully. Why? Because Section 105 of that law says that the Secretary of State, today, which is Rubio, has the power to withhold aid to nations destabilizing the Congo. So the US is recognizing that, right, by organizing this deal and the signing of the deal. But how come when you have evidence of your own ally causing chaos, you're unwilling to hold them accountable? And we've seen that. And that's why in the beginning, I kind of started speaking about what's happening in Palestine. So it's important for people around the world to recognize the contradiction that's happening now, right? The contradiction where international law is not followed. Some countries are treated differently than others. So the sanction regime it depends on how the US president wakes up, who is his friend that day, who's not. While we, the working people of the world, be it in Los Angeles, when ICE is coming around using AI, be it from Palantir or other companies, exploiting us. And as in the Congo, we are really right at the bottom of the supply chain, seeing the raw materials, seeing how our minerals is being given to American corporation and penny on the dollar, that the people on both sides of the Atlantic must unite because we know who the enemy is. And the enemy will always be capitalism, will always be imperialism. And we have to unite to stop these forces from exploiting us and causing chaos around the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot to continue to follow and see here as the Rwandan and Congolese sides continue their discussions and the U.S. sits over top of all of it. And as always, we are honored to have you, Kambale Musavuli, joining us to help us sort through it all.
Thank you.